Don't you just love this card? I wasn't sure on this technique. It's called the Retiform Technique or the Grid Technique. But a lot of people have been doing the cards and I thought I would try. So I'm going to go ahead and teach you guys how I made this card. You're going to need some sticky notes. If you have the larger notes, those will work too. Those will actually work better because you'll cover more area. You also will need a piece of crumb cake cardstock. This is the A2 size, so it is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and you just fold it at 4.25. You also will need a piece of Very Vanilla. This here is cut at 5.25 by 4. And you also will need a bunch of colors here, stamping inks here. We're using So Saffron Old Olive Crumb Cake Chocolate Chip and Basic Black Tangerine Tango and Crushed Curry. These are all the colors you will need today. You also will need stamping sponges. I purchased them through Stamping Up. You get 3 of them for $3.50, and then I just cut them into little triangles. You're going to take your piece of Very Vanilla cardstock, and we're just going to take your sticky notes, and I just start off towards the bottom first. I figure out what sentiment I'm going to use and how much room I'm going to need for the sentiment. So the stamp set that we're using today on this card is Painted Harvest. So the first thing we're going to do is, what I like to do is figure out where I'm going to put my sentiment. So I think I'm going to put it down on the bottom here. And then the sentiment I'm going to use is I am thankful for you. So I'll just take that out of my stamp set and kind of put it where I think I want it. So somewhere down here. And then I know how much room I need to leave. So I'll just take a sticky note and place it kind of at an angle towards the bottom here. And then I'll take another one, and you can go straight across if you want, or you can angle it, whatever you want. There's no method to this other than you're just masking off areas. Once you have your sticky notes on there, we're going to take the So Saffron, and that's what I'm going to use to do the coloring here. So you just take a little bit of this on your sponge, and I like to kind of take some off first so it's not so in your face when you first start, and then you just go around the edges of the sticky note. The other thing I should let you guys know is you probably want to get some wipes or a wet cloth on hand because this can tend to be a little messy. And then I'll just ink up the bottom here too and the edges. So it just gives it a little border of the color. So then you want to take these off. And what you want to do is you want to be careful because I have ink on my fingers now. And when I go to put this on, and if I touch my card, I'm going to get ink there. So that's where your wet washcloth comes in handy, or just a wipe. So then what we'll do is we'll just move on to the next. And you just, like I said, you figure out where you want your colors to go. So, and you want to make sure that the area that you're going to ink is completely surrounded by your sticky notes. So then you just continue this technique. So once you're done, you'll see the definitions of the different areas where the lines are. So it'll look something like this, just depending on how you designed your different areas. So you can do a lot of different lines on it, or you can do few, but it is kind of messy. And like I said, you want to make sure you have a wipe or a wet cloth or something on hand, so when you remove your ink, you're not putting fingerprints on your clean surfaces. So now it's just a matter of what you want stamped on here and where you want it stamped. So the first thing I'm going to do is just start off with my sentiment and just work from that point on and figure out where I want everything stamped. You're still going to use your sticky notes for this. So I'm just going to stamp out the I am thankful for you in basic black. And I do have my foam mat underneath just because they are photopolymer stamps, and it does give it a little bit more cushion. So I'm just going to position this where I want it. And then that is the only thing we're stamping out in basic black. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my sticky notes and just line them up on your line. You'll be able to see the different lines. So just line it up. In the area that you're going to be stamping in, anything around that you want covered with your sticky notes. So I'm just going to take the little dots from this stamp set and I'm going to stamp it out in chocolate chip. But I'm going to take and I'm going to first stamp the dots off the paper and then stamp them on. And I'm just going to stamp those randomly around the saying here. Then you just want to remove your sticky notes. And you'll see it only stamped where you wanted it to stamp. So then you just move on and you figure out what are you going to do next. So I think I'm going to do the leaves next. So I'm going to just mark off the area I want the leaves stamped in. And again, just make sure you're lining up your sticky notes with your lines. And then I'll move on to this, the leaf, the one that's more defined. It has more definition and looks like a leaf. And I'm going to use Old Olive to stamp that out here. So you'll see now, you can see it's starting to come together. I think I'll do the sunflowers over here. So for the sunflower, the colors I'm using are Tangerine Tango and Crushed Curry, and the center of the sunflower is going to be Crumb Cake. So you'll see with the sunflowers, I pressed a little too hard and you can see the edging of the stamps a little bit on there, but that's okay. You guys just be careful when you're pressing down. If you do work with the foam mat, you don't have to press as hard. If there's no mat underneath you, because they're photopolymer stamps, you do have to give it a little harder press. And I actually did mess up over here. Part of the sunflower stamped because it wasn't covered up all the way. So just be aware of when you're doing this, what's covered up, how far your stamp is going to go off the paper, and that's the key to it. So I'm just going to do the acorns here, and I'm going to do that in crumb cake and chocolate chip. So the bottom of the acorn will be crumb cake and the top will be chocolate chip. Then in this area here, I will put the ferns, but I think I'm going to do them in Tangerine Tango. And the fern that I used was the more defined fern, the one that has the leaves and looks like a fern. And then the only part I have is this little piece down here. So down here, I'm just going to use the more solid leaf, and I'm just going to stamp it in Old Olive. So the front of your card will look something like this. You know, you put your own twist on it. So we're just going to go ahead now and just put the card together. Very simple. Just want to use some snail adhesive or any kind of glue that you would like. I'm just going to use snail adhesive here. Then just glue it to the front of your card base. And that's all there is to the Retiform technique or the grid technique. Very simple, very easy. You could also, you know, do another ink pad here. These don't have to be so big. It's up to you on your design. A million different uses you could do with it, and your cards will always look different every time you do it. I basically use the same stamps here, but just different placements of your sticky notes give you different designs. So real fun technique. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.